It was early 2013, and I just finished off a bunch of gigs with Katy, and I got a call from the Backstreet Boys management saying, would you like to go to China? And I said, sure, when? And they're like, tomorrow. Hi, my name's James McCullagh. I'm the Backstreet Boys front of house mix engineer. We're in St. Louis today on one of our stops for the DNA World Tour. Working with the Backstreet Boys was an interesting challenge. Up till then, I had mostly done single artist pop acts. This was the first time I'd done multiple singers. So with this tour, the guys were really super excited to try and create a tour comparable, if not better, than the Millennium Tour in every aspect. And all the elements that they had back in the heyday are right at the forefront of this tour. The album's called the DNA album, and there was heavy thought into what is the DNA of the Backstreet Boys. So every department has kind of internally looked like, how do we translate this into a show? They've done an amazing job at creating a really huge looking show. Everybody's loving it. The energy is amazing. Fans are walking out of there with massive smiles on their face. There's 15 trucks on this tour. It takes from 7 a.m. in the morning until about 3 p.m. in the afternoon to set everything up. We carry the stage, the lights, the video, audio, every cable. They're all packed in trunks. Everything that you see outside of the seats in the arena, we bring. We've got a 6-foot high stage. It's 60 feet by 40 feet. And behind that is a video wall that's 60 feet by 40 feet. They've got a B stage that comes out in kind of like a hexagon that mirrors the vortex that they have above the stage, which vaguely replicates a DNA strand. We can light it either by a single strand or all the strands together. It's pretty complex, and it's pretty amazing, the designs that we've come up with. As a fan, when you come here and you watch the show, you feel like you're back in 1999 watching the Backstreet Boys in their prime. One of my favorite things about mixing this tour is the energy of the crowd. You've got middle-aged women screaming like teenagers, and I don't think that there's any other audience that can recreate that kind of noise, that pitch, that energy. People are, reliving their past, and it's great. My inspiration came from a really young age. My dad is a professional musician, as is my uncle. My uncle had a studio, and he basically recorded any artist that was of any consequence throughout the 80s in South Africa. I started recording my own bands in our garage, and my uncle heard my productions, and he was like, hey, you should come and do this in a proper studio, come and help me. I'd go into his studio and help him out in the afternoon, and I didn't really know what I was doing, but I knew that I was creating music, and that was important. And as I went along, I learned a little more, and then went on tour with my dad's band, and I kind of just gathered experience as we were going along. I was like 22 years old, and I thought, I'm going to move to London, I'm going to be a producer, I'm going to be a songwriter, I'm going to be famous, I'm going to work with all these great musicians, and it's going to be amazing. I got to London, and it was quite a wake-up call, because I didn't know anybody, I didn't know how to get in the industry, I didn't know where to start, and I ended up doing a ton of different jobs. I was a stagehand, I worked in a music store, I had an apartment next to this rehearsal studio. I knocked on the door and said, hey, I'm a sound engineer. If you ever need anybody to mix bands or anything, I can do this, and I live right next door. She's like, oh, do you have a resume? What's your phone number? I was like, nope, just come knock on the door. She said, okay, great. And about 2 days later, her brother Ben, he knocked on the door. He said, hey, mate. He said, I've got a band that needs an engineer. I've just been dropped. Can you mix? I was like, yes. And he's like, cool, I'll give you £50. Meet me at this bar at this time. And I was like, okay. And I met him there. The guys really liked me, and they said, can we have that guy back? And so then I did a few more shows, and it just kind of expanded from there. I ended up working for a couple of years with Ben, and he knew somebody that worked at Brit Row. They were a huge production company based out of London. They do all the biggest bands in the world. They started with Pink Floyd, to the Rolling Stones, to Bryan Adams, to you name it. So I was like, great, I'm going to get to work for Brit Row. I'm going to go and mix, and I painted speaker boxes for about 2 months. I went on tour briefly with Massive Attack, and their front of house engineer Dave Bracey, he taught me a lot. He had an amazing mix. It's still to this day one of the best sounding concerts I've ever seen. We became good friends, and I picked his brain. I was with them for about a year and a half, and I ended up getting to be the monitor tech for Joss Stone, who was a young soul R&B artist out of the UK at the time. So I ended up doing that gig for about a year, and then the production manager from Joss Stone moved on to go and do the newly put together In Excess. They had just done a TV show and got a new singer, and were about to launch a massive worldwide tour. So I phoned him up and I said, hey, so who's mixing front of house? And he said, no, we want a big name to do this. I was like, oh, okay, cool. Eventually I saw they had some gigs advertised. So I was like, hey, so who did you find? I see you got some gigs. He's like, no, we're just using a local guy. So I was like, well, I'll do it. And he said, no, it's fine. We're looking for a name. I was like, I'll do it for free. He's like, what's in it for me? I said, well, you don't have to pay me. Just get my flight and I'll do it for free. And as long as they keep using me, then you don't have to pay me. But if they hire me, then I want to be back paid for these gigs. And he's like, I don't know. I was like, look, it's a win-win for you. You either save money or you the guy that found their front of house engineer. Both ways you're going to win. So he's like, okay, cool. I flew out to New York. I did a couple of gigs, and they had a bunch of people go backstage, and one of those guys was Jimmy Barnes, who's a huge, massive artist in Australia. And he said to them, he's like, guys, I don't know who that front of house engineer is, but he did an amazing job. I haven't heard you sound this good since the 80s. And they were like, we don't even know who he is. And so I got called in the dressing room, like, who are you? I was like, I'm nobody. I'm just the guy mixing you. He's like, where did you come from? What have you done? And it turns out I got the gig, and that was my big break. And from there, I went on to mix Lucinda Williams, Journey, Katy Perry. It was early 2013, and I just finished off a bunch of gigs with Katy Perry, and I got a call from the Backstreet Boys management saying, would you like to go to China? And I said, sure, when? And they're like, tomorrow. I was like, okay, sure. So I hopped on a plane and I flew out to China. I thought, I've never been to China, this will be cool. They said, would you like to come to Europe and do a promo tour? I said, sure. And so we went to Europe for a month, and that was really cool because it was just the guys, their security and tour manager, and we clicked. When they asked me to do the rest of the tour, I jumped at the opportunity, and here we are. That was about 7 years ago, and I've been with them ever since.